So eventually what happens is that the government is the most successful group of gangsters.
Tony, Nadia, nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you as well, sir. It's been a long time coming. Just as a precursor, I personally have been following you since like the beginning.
That's true.
Saw the video of you in Iraq, was very inspired. It was actually one of the things that kind of woke me up to a lot of things. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's really funny because when we got together and he was like, hey, libertarianism and Adam Kokesh. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's definitely cool that where we've come in our life that finally we get a chance to sit down and talk to you. It's pretty cool. So we were just talking before you came on about how one of the cool things about the libertarian movement that a lot of people don't appreciate is the fact that there's all these small connections between people that a lot of people don't really realize are there. And, it's actually a lot more powerful than I think people give credit to. We can really bridge a lot of gaps and form connections in ways that, lead to really cool things like this, where somebody like me would have never dreamed of this, but now we are here. So,
well, you gave me an epiphany just now that I'd never really thought of in these terms, if I may, Tony, because now you've inspired me. And the way I've said something similar sort of about homesteading, in that when you step away from the herd, the mainstream, you say, I'm going to live off grid, I'm going to isolate myself in a certain way. You're not cutting off society, you're not cutting out people, you're cutting out coercive relationships. Mm-hmm. And that allows the space for more voluntary relationships to take their place with your time and your energy and your effort in your life. And one of the things that we don't talk about as a way of analyzing libertarianism enough, I think, this is my epiphany, new idea, trying it on here. Bear with me. But we talk about libertarianism is founded in the ethics of self-ownership and the non-aggression principle and so on. And I like to say, again, just sort of coming to this idea slowly from various familiar angles before jumping right in. But that you could describe libertarianism either through an individualist or a relationship perspective, right? That it's well, I'm free if my rights are respected. But you could also describe that just as well by saying we are free if our relationships are consensual, if they are voluntary, right?
Absolutely.
And what you really made me think of, it's not just these connections, the way you described them, that there is like, and the way you said it made me think you're talking more about like the movement and the communities and the networking and things like that. But it's really that libertarianism fundamentally is about relationships, whereas most human beings, and we could, there are a lot of ways that we struggle to be like, no, what we're getting at, we just want to make the world a better place. We know these ideas are important. Why don't you just listen to us, autistic white males spamming for Ron Paul from my parents' basement for a second? Just stop being so simple. Stop being such normcore assholes. Stay just a minute and listen to what's possible and making the world a better place, please. And we struggle in political terms because it's not appropriate. This is not a political message. It's obviously much deeper than that.
Yes, it is.
Anti-political, but getting past it, getting to ethics. And really, I mean, the new idea, the epiphany is that like it really is, we are striving more than anything to improve human relationships.
We are.
Yes.
Fundamental level. Can we make them ethical? Can we make them consensual?
Absolutely.
Can we make them not coercive? Can we get that element
out of the way?
Out of it? It's like,
Actually, I say all the time, to me, to us in general, libertarianism is truly a lifestyle. You can't just have it as a political ideology. You have to live it in every single aspect of your life, really. Like with your friendships, with your relationships, with your family, you can't expect them to, you can't put the same kind of pressures on them that you wouldn't allow the government to put on you, and that's kind of the same kind of mutual respect among your relationships. So
I talk about that all the time. Like when I try to break it down for people in libertarianism, I'm like, well, if your girlfriend came to you and was like, look, he's beating me, like you would be like, get out of there. What are you doing? Like, I'll save you. Come on, But, take out boyfriend and insert government. And then they're like, whoa, hang on a second.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Exactly. And truly, I think that's, what you're saying here is we need to make the connection with people that it's not just this movement. It's a matter of relationships and connections and like the respect you have for them, and how you treat them. So that's a really great point. It is.
And with yourself too, and this is one of the things that I think you want to talk about it as a lifestyle, also a mentality. I mean, you can't have it as just a political set of opinions.
You can, absolutely.
At least
Absolutely.
At first, it's a decent gateway, but if you're any kind of person with integrity or intellectual consistency, not for long, right? Starting to apply that to your life and the implications.
Exactly. I'm a bit radical at times.
At times.
All the time.
Getting out of this, political mindset to communicate at a deeper level is absolutely critical to reaching people. And the relationship with yourself is one of the most powerful ways of immediately benefiting from this understanding of the world. And there are people who have this without libertarianism. There are people who live without self-consciousness,
absolutely,
without allowing the expectations of others to affect them, without any sense of libertarianism. There are people in my community here, Juniperwood Ranch, who live free, don't understand what I'm talking about with politics, and good for them. Living it's kind of more important.
Exactly.
Don't have that. Libertarianism is a gateway to that. And to me, it's one of the more important ideas that we should be sharing. Yeah. And be like, because if you can have that emotional freedom and still have a slave job and hate your life. And be like, you're going to work every day with a smile on your face because you're emotionally free, but something's eating away back, something's tearing you apart, from the inside somehow. And, libertarianism with emotional freedom resolves all of that.
It does.
And the most important sovereignty you can claim is of your mind, of your emotions, of your thoughts. And it's not easy, but in the same way that we say we want freedom, we want to improve relationships, your relationship with yourself has to be healthy too. And you have to love yourself enough to give yourself that emotional freedom. Because what keeps us from that? And it's very much, this is bigger than statism versus freedom, but it's very much connected to that in that statism relies on you giving up that intellectual and emotional sovereignty in order to control you. Someone who is comfortable with death or imprisonment cannot be intimidated by propaganda.
Right.
And they don't want people to have that. And there's a way that we're just we're going to figure it out eventually. You can't these ideas. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army. Right?
I love that quote.
Can't stop. In a way, I'm torn as an activist between pulling my hair out. I'm growing it out before I lose the opportunity here. Because I hear you. It is going to look like worse. But not Nadia. So Tony's, when they do the ponytail with the thin top, as long as I get away with it, the comb back, I guess you would call it. But sometimes I grapple with, oh my God, there are people dying, and the state is ruining lives, and the surveillance state, and the police state, and the war, and the military-industrial complex, and the banking system. And look at how many people could be living better if this thing was. And it's tempting to want to have that attitude of urgency, but obviously that's not sustainable. You don't want to live like that. And part of me thinks, hey, we could sit back and chill and just live well. And what force do we have as individuals, as long as we're, I think, living consciously, and I hate to say it like this, but putting out good vibes into the world and living well and having positive relationships and sending out love whenever we can, and not contributing to the coercion of the world by our own conscious choice. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe we just get to watch the world become free over the next couple of generations. And the only point of being a libertarian will be to sit back and tell our grandkids, "Hey, I told you so."
Well, yeah, and I think that's really what this all leads to. When you sit there and you actually put effort into those relationships and you build those bridges between and you actually get yourself involved in your community, not even just politically, but go out and volunteer and, help people and do things just for the purpose of helping. That is what heals the world. That is actually, when we even think of libertarianism, that's what we're thinking about. It's a voluntary society. We are truly voluntarious. I would consider myself, honestly, it's a naughty word. I'm an anarchist, truly, because I feel like every single human being could truly and utterly take care of their own, and the bad ones weed themselves out utterly. When you give people power, that's the problem.
Right.
See, I have a problem with the term anarchist, not because of how most people mean it.
Exactly.
But I would tell, like, do you really have a problem with a voluntary thing that somebody calls government?
Not at all.
You might have a preference.
Not at all.
You might have a preference for anarchy in an aesthetic
personally
sense. And actually, not just personally for yourself, but for the world. The world would be better without any kind of institutions that look anything like what we call government today. But that in and of itself is a central plan. And that's why I would suggest that for you, the term voluntarist is a better descriptor.
Yes, and I actually use that more frequently.
Right. Because I could say, well, I'm a homesteading libertarian anarchist.
Exactly. Like, I hate the terms, honestly. I hate the identity.
No, you're a libertarian. You're a fucking libertarian.
Yes, exactly.
When we become libertarian, part of why we become libertarians, or some of us, I should say, who become libertarians are at least partly motivated by a knee-jerk desire to rebel and stand out from the crowd and get away from the herd. And then we find ourselves in the libertarian herd and go, shit, I'm just in another herd.
Exactly.
And I have to differentiate myself from this herd too. I better have my own term. I can't just be a libertarian, like fucking vanilla flavored libertarian.
Right.
No, I'm an XYZ, this, that, and the other. This caucus is better than your caucus. And it's like,
oh God, oh my God, that could be a whole other conversation.
So the only term that I think is helpful in a broader political sense is libertarian. And I think what unites most of us who are conscientious in that is not anarcho-capitalism, it's not libertarian socialism, it's not conservative minarchy or moderate whatever the fuck. No, it's because we all and even if you press, when you join the party, you check the freaking box that says I oppose. Hello, but the box that you check when you join the Libertarian Party, I oppose the initiation of force to achieve political and social goals. That's a pledge of voluntarism right there. And even the minarchists would say, even the minarchists in the party, who some anarchists like, oh my God, you're such a statist. It's like, no, they still take that pledge and would say, well, I'm a minarchist, but if I wouldn't in my ideal world, you would have the right to secede on your own land and live your anarchist way, and I would want to leave you alone. And
right.
So it's so dumb, all of these artificial divisions. And I think, again, the only term that I think is helpful besides libertarian in understanding it is voluntarism.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Be specific to describe. If you want to allow libertarian, the word, to include anybody who's in the party or voted libertarian, or even people who say they're libertarian leaning, like, I don't know, communist Donald J. Trump, for example, Citizen Trump, who was president for 4 years and did almost nothing. In fact, really just re-entrenched the communist status quo. We have all 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, at least partially, if not completely, in effect in the federal government. Trump a communist. I'm not exaggerating, but Marxist Trump perpetuated the American current standard of communism.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, he says he's libertarian leaning, and that's
it's because Rand Paul. It's because Rand Paul.
Let's keep the doors wide open. Let's even a socialist, fascist, communist like Donald Trump is capable of
libertarian thought processes.
Political. What's the word? Forgiveness, resuscitation. There's another word. but yeah, he's pretty much the opposite of libertarian.
Oh yeah.
It's important to have the word voluntarism to describe, what it means as a specific philosophy, whereas I think libertarian can be used to say, anybody who believes in freedom or is associated with the party.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, the word libertarian is a good word to bring a lot of people in with too, because people who are kind of in the mainstream and they don't really follow, our movement in general, when you start throwing around words like voluntarist and stuff, it sounds so complicated to them right off the gates, even though it's really not.
Well, I want to say it was a cool word until Grandpa Trump used it.
Yeah.
But I started hating libertarianism when I heard Ronald Reagan say libertarianism is the heart of conservatism, and I'm like, we are the heart of this evil ideology? Fuck this! No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it was just another attempt at pandering, by Reagan to co-opt libertarianism, just like Trump. But yeah, it is. There is something. I mean, I know being offended is bullshit just in general, but there is something, weirdly intellectually offensive about saying we're libertarian because we believe in freedom, we believe in a standard of ethics, and then having Donald J. Trump come out and be like, hey kids, I'm libertarian too.
No, I get it. I had the same knee-jerk reaction. We both did. It was like, I literally I was enraged, and I'm not, I'm not part of this. I don't get offended easily. So but that was like, no, please don't consider that. Just don't.
I mean, any press is.
I know. Yeah. Good press. Oh, you said the L word on TV. Oh my gosh. You said the L word, but yeah.
However, I don't want to be associated with you.
No, I know. And then honestly, I kind of saw that coming with the whole insurrection stuff. And then they're going to start tagging us as domestic terrorists. I saw that coming. The moment he said that L word on TV, I was like, don't you dare put us in the same camp as you Trumpsters, because we are not like you at all.
Yeah. No, there's an interesting parallel there that I've experienced, or at least I've seen from my experience in independent media. My producer likes to call me the most censored man on YouTube. And if you look at my numbers, you see how I've had strikes, and that I have 250,000 subs, and my videos get no views now compared to what my numbers used to be. Just that alone. But if just hypothetically, if there's kind of it's 45, the media as a whole, people broadcasting news, political commentary, social analysis, etc. If it's evenly split, 45%, 45%, conservative liberal, and then 10% libertarian in the middle, right? If they want to censor this 10%, and they want to censor us more than anybody else, and all they did was censor us, it would be really obvious. But what they can do instead is censor us and about 10% of those 45% of conservatives, and go, look, conservatives are being censored by liberal social media platforms. All riled up and lump us in, and hide the fact that I think the point of all this, and I don't know, I don't like to anthropomorphize institutions too much, because there's something temptingly intellectually lazy and dishonest about it. But if I had to guess, I think there's some intent, to censor libertarians without ever putting that down on. For example, when I was at my peak on YouTube, and it's funny to think of this as years ago, and I've had bigger and smaller audiences on different platforms, radio, TV, different online outlets, mainly YouTube over the years. But at one point in 2014, I was doing 2 million views a month consistently, and we went from 50,000 to 100,000 subscribers. We were doing pretty good at rates for advertising, but it was just after YouTube was bought by Google.
Sure.
And the YouTube ad sharing or ad revenue sharing system was replaced by Google AdSense.
Mm-hmm.
We had in all of our videos weed and marijuana. And now I'm like, I don't even use that word. That's a bad word. I say cannabis.
We do too.
Yep.
We had weed, marijuana as default tags in all of our videos. and suddenly our revenue got cut by 2/3 in like a month, and we were just like, what the hell just happened? And I mean, this is still a guess. I can't prove this. I only figured it out years later. And it could have been some other similar trigger, but it was basically, following Google AdSense replacing the YouTube revenue system. A lot of people got screwed, and it's like there was this golden age of independent media on the internet when anybody who was on the internet as an audience member would look at this beautiful array of new independent media, and since then enough of it's been censored or beaten down or defunded one way or another. And now that online, like, they don't have to censor us outright,
No, they don't.
And it's better for them.
Shadow banning. Yeah, it's basically shadow banning.
More effective because if they ban it outright, it's sort of the Streisand effect, right? It calls attention to what you were trying to suppress.
Exactly.
And so we're at this like weird point now where so much of the mainstream media has, I don't want to say like taken over the internet, but come to displace what made the internet a unique, vibrant, and more internet or independent media centered space.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be too pessimistic and say like, oh, it's all ruined. Yeah, the internet's no. But there was this period that was a kind of, I mean, I don't know how you would measure this.
We were living through it too. It's definitely true. We were watching, Luke Rudowski, We Are Change.
Yeah.
I mean, he's another one. We watch him still frequently to this day, but he has been shadow banned to the point where his broadcast is like a shell of what it used to be, and he was on the ground and everything. And
it's good to hear that. I'm not alone. Thanks.
It's him too.
I remember, I always enjoyed working with Luke when we did the anniversary together in DC.
Absolutely.
On legit television there briefly.
And honestly too, we're part of like the gaming community as well, and they're another community that's actually been hit really hard by government sanctions over the last few years. COPPA came through, which actually like almost eliminated a number of people who did like game streaming and people who just like did quirky gaming videos and stuff, because it was like anybody who was for children could no longer have comment sections. You could no longer be like broadcasted. You can no longer,
unless you were the corporate approved sponsored channels.
Exactly. Like IGN and stuff like that. Yeah. So like you see it on all different levels.
I remember this like with Together to the Top with Athene Wins back in the day. There were all the game streaming first became a thing. Early 2000s.
Yep.
And flourished, over the next decade. And it was just like for independent media and politics, punditry, and activism, it was a wide open space.
It was.
And wherein in our sphere, we see the political motivations for censorship, which are ultimately corporate and financial anyway. In the game world, it's just corporatism, right? Consolidation. 100%. And that Wild West open opportunity that the internet was there briefly is gone for now. But I think it's going to come together. Like, I don't want to say old media is not welcome on the internet, like by any stretch. Right. Because it needs to be there. The content needs to be there. It needs to be part of the hive mind for bettering humanity. And the legitimate resources. Like, I hate to sound like I'm defending the...
No. I get what you're saying.
There's still a major role in covering current events in the institutions of mainstream journalism in the world today. I hate to admit it, but the independent media has not come to completely supplant all of the functions of old media in terms of investigative reporting and, basic day-to-day current event stuff.
Especially local media.
And I like, so, if I hadn't been demonetized back in 2014, and I had been able to keep building and growing, if maybe I was at the level of, say, Alex Jones, but think of it.
Or Ben Swan.
What if the new media landscape, what if Ben Swan, I was about to say, what if there were a dozen of us? Mm-hmm. What if there were a dozen independent media personalities, like me at the level of Alex Jones or Cenk Uygur, who were really the only ones in that sphere? And you go, At what point does it become controlled opposition, right?
Right.
Remember, Alex Jones got to start with terrestrial radio.
Absolutely.
The AM gatekeepers said, 2 thumbs up for Alex Jones at some point.
Absolutely.
And of course, he's been used and censored and controlled out at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. Honestly, I always give credit. I woke up to Alex Jones. He was what woke me up, essentially, to like the world. And like what I really appreciated about his programming was the guests. I always knew he was kind of a quack, and I knew there was a lot of a character there, and like he was selling a certain brand and blah blah blah. And I always kind of had this hint of like controlled opposition, but I liked the people he would bring on to talk. There were some really valuable guests he would have.
Yeah, and I want to say with that criticism of Alex Jones, like big caveats here, I love him personally. I think he is an honest dude. I think he's I think he's primarily motivated by a desire to do the right thing and ideology. I can say he's compromised in some ways. He's sold out a little bit in some ways.
He's kind of had
manipulated in a lot of ways. But controlled opposition means that you've been manipulated into the position you're in, not anything about your motivations or your decisions.
No. Yeah. I actually, like I said, I give him credit because like some of the points he made like really stuck with me, the things he brought up.
Oh, and he was a gateway for millions.
Yes, exactly. And I get like, it's a beautiful thing that so many people went through that and, had the same experience. And a lot of people give him credit for that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we
follow him from time to time.
Well, his Joe Rogan experience interviews are just hilarious. They're some of the best quality entertainment you'll see.
But that's the problem. Like maybe what we have been manipulated into accepting is the voice of someone pointing out, hey, government's a big conspiracy. It's happening in the open. They're conspiring to take your freedoms, rip you off, and exploit you to serve the super class, is attached to all the Alex Jones nuttiness. And now you, Tony, go, oh, they're entertaining, as opposed to, I hear that guy when he gets interviewed on Alex Jones, and I'm ready to change my life and grow vegetables, not government, and de-escalate and live in love and peace and harmony, as opposed to the Alex Jones mentality, which is inherently confrontational.
He's super confrontational.
If I'm opening up my laptop here,
go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just want to share this one relevant John Lennon quote that I have. It's my desktop.
Sure.
It says, when it gets down to having to use violence, then you are playing the system's game. The establishment will irritate you, pull your beard, flick your face to make you fight, because once they've got you violent, then they know how to handle you. The only thing they don't know how to handle is nonviolence and humor. And I would go a step further, talking about even verbal confrontation as opposed to nonviolent communication and de-escalation, and not anthropomorphizing institutions and coming to hate them or emotionally engage with them, but understand that they're made up of people, and we can't hate the state away or argue the state away. We have to love and empower the people whose insecurities and fears and greed motivate it.
Exactly. Yes. I just made a post today, actually, on Facebook. I posted there's this Billie Eilish set. It's just a really beautiful, relaxing set. And I said, just take a minute, listen to this. We can't save the world being stressed out. We can't, it's going to take love and relaxation and good vibes. You really can't be stressed out and hating people and so angry. I recently got accosted by this fellow local libertarian. He got into my messages on Facebook to tell me that, he approves of all the things I'm doing locally and all the things, but my views on the COVID mandates are just abhorrent, that I am dangerous to society, and because I'm, obviously anti-mandate and everything. So, but he ended this entire retortment by saying that my cookies suck. Now, this guy's never even met me. This guy's never met me. I don't think he's ever had my cookies. I don't know where that came from.
But it's just
an example, of just what you had nothing better to do with your time than to decide to reach out to me that you've never met, and why? You could have taken that time and directed it towards something positive and made the world a better place, I don't know. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah. But, if we just got everybody together and join our communities together and then work together to build everything up, Then we wouldn't have time to hate everybody and say stupid things.
I know.
Well, there's one thing that I think every activist needs to know, and how to apply in their activism and how they relate to other people, and it's that COINTELPRO is still a thing.
Yeah,
you don't know, counterintelligence program, FBI program from the 60s and 70s, specifically set up to render the anti-war and Black Power movements ineffective. They didn't have to assassinate activists with cops and FBI raids. That wasn't their goal.
Assassinate their character.
Back then they could get away with it. Now they can't, but they can get away with all sorts of subtle means of sabotage and infiltration and derailing. And even if it's not the FBI, just the old parties with their budgets, you know, are going to have infiltrators.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And all they have to do is ruin your mood and render you ineffective. They've done their job.
Oh, yeah.
And it's sort of like, you know, if you see someone and they're doing that, you know, make them carry the heavy boxes and do the manual labor for your organization, or sit them in the back to lick envelopes. But if
I know that personally, honestly.
Even on the internet with the manipulated, we know that troll farms are a thing.
Oh, heck yes.
Being used against us.
Oh my gosh, that'd be naive.
Yeah. So it just, keeping that in mind, you have to keep that. Like, I hate to say that you have to always keep that in mind, but you do. You really have to at least periodically remind yourself so that you don't get diverted, because your time in activism or in making your own life better, when it gets sucked away by people who are paid to be trolls or shills or whatever,
absolutely, you're
missing the point. You know, you gotta protect yourself.
This guy definitely, like, luckily I know for a fact he wasn't a troll, because he's actually a local. But yes, I do definitely understand that there. And another thing too, like,
in that case, I want to point out one other thing here, and I learned this from my time in Iraq Veterans Against the War, because we studied Vietnam veterans against the war who were subject to the actual COINTELPRO. It's under different names, different things, because they got caught and they promised they'd never do it again. So of course they never did, because they're government.
Like
they're totally honest. They never lie. So you don't have to even infiltrate an organization directly.
Sure.
Be a subtle influence.
The messaging.
And go to people into being assholes to each other.
Right.
You'd be guy on the park bench going, how come that guy gets to give the speeches? You have a better story. You should be the one up there. You should do whatever it takes to get them out of their position with the Gore County Libertarian Party.
Oh, yeah.
I see so much just irrational shit like that. You go, yeah, this is not organic. It's politics.
We are involved locally here. There's a gentleman. He's a farmer. He's a military veteran like yourself. He's from the Army. He's running for Congress here in Wisconsin. His name's Jacob Vandenplas, and he was working for a local establishment here. And at his 90-day review, 2 weeks prior, he had just been bumped up, given a raise. Like, he had this little review. No problems, no nothing. A couple weeks later, after he had announced he was running for Congress, and I've been helping him personally. Like, we've been really building his campaign as big as we can. It's going to be in 2022. He got fired randomly. Now, this plant has been donated. This plant has donated to the local Republican congressman that he's going to be running against. And, you know, when he asked for an explanation, they said, you're just not a good fit. And that's all they would tell him. So, like, we definitely have seen, you know, where the local parties, even on the state level, they will do anything they can to try and throw you off the track. Like you said, you know, he's a great guy, like, super principled man, like, super
homesteader.
Honest. He's a homesteader. Local farmer, like, he grows local vegetables. He really cares about fresh produce and giving back to the community. He's a great guy, and you know, would do no harm to anybody. Obviously, he's a libertarian and through and through. But he didn't deserve that, and that was a direct example of what you're talking about. They'll try to stomp you down any chance you can get. But and honestly,
that means he's not hurting and can use this as a story for his campaign.
Yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't want, like, obviously he wants to, you know, make it known, but he's not the kind of guy to sling mud, obviously. You know, it's just like live and let live and go on with it, you know. But he luckily got another job, like, pretty much right away, because he's got really great work references and stuff like that. But, you know.
Well, this is the kind of story the party leadership needs to tell as his cheerleaders.
Absolutely, absolutely. And honestly, as party leadership, I'm actually running as chair of our state party this spring.
Excellent.
Yeah, the current chair reached out, said it was going to be opening up, and he has also backed me.
We don't have enough beards in the leadership of the Libertarian
Exactly. I say this all the time. Jake as well. He has a beard as well. There needs to be more beards. But yeah, and I just really want to, focus on a lot of the things even that we've been talking about through this entire podcast, because they're things that are important to me as well. There's a reason why I've been following you for a long time. Like, I'll be cooking lunch. I'm a homeschooling father. My wife works. We kind of have role reversal, in a sense. Like, she's the breadwinner. I'm the stay-at-home guy.
We literally.
I want to be a stay-at-home. I want to be a stay-at-home dad when I grow up too. Yeah. It just kind of worked out, in our life. Everything kind of came together that way. But I'll be like cooking lunch for the kids, and you have Adam versus the Man on, and I got it playing in the background, listening and stuff. So, but I constantly try to, stay up on a lot of these things. And one of the things actually I wanted to touch on a little bit before we get out of here is the localization aspect of things. We've kind of been loosely alluding through a lot of the conversation, but a lot of this comes down to localization, like really activating at a local level in a way that you can make real change happen and bring things home. And we need to really remove the federal government out of it, because it's all based on consent, and we need to just stop giving them the consent altogether, Yeah. Well, there are a couple of premises to this, that if you believe in libertarianism as an ethical set of principles, then if you're going to have something called a government, in order for it to be legitimate, it has to be by consent of the governed, which means that you have to have the opportunity to leave at any time. Now, yes. I'm a fan of decentralization, not because it's some ultimate objective. In all human society functions, organization, et cetera, there's a balance between centralization and decentralization.
Yes.
But under the status quo, the scale's been tipped way in favor of centralization. No kidding, right? And especially with government, when you say we should secede, I'm on the board of directors. I'm thinking about recalling Governor Gavin Newsom. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Even though I live in Arizona, as a former California, I'm a member of the Cal Exit Congress, which is the board of directors for Yes California. Excuse me. And if California is able to bring it to a vote that they should be independent from the United States, if the federal government says, no, you can't go, or if Texas beats them now, motivated by Biden. And by the way, at the last Cal Exit Congress, we do a weekly conference call. We had a representative from the Texas independence movement. So we are already like,
awesome.
Working in coordination here. It's very cool to see.
That is.
And the other idea is that, whatever amount of centralization you have, necessitating that it be voluntary in order to be legitimate, it has to be based on communities.
Yes.
Because a community can be as big or as small.
Right, exactly.
But most importantly,
voluntary.
By definition, a community is something that you choose to be a part of.
Yes.
And can choose to leave at any time. And if we can get government, I think I say down to the community level, as in, away from this top-down centralization model, we have, a bottom-up community model, or maybe some, government functions happen at a private level or an intergovernment or intercommunity partnership level. People can buy into various voluntary systems. We can separate the functions of government from what needs to be done geographically that actually involves an organization tied to what we think of as a country or a political sovereign unit. And so my proposal as a presidential candidate was, let's take the first step. It's a pretty moderate one in terms of, how do we think of the paradigm, but dissolve the United States federal government in a peaceful, orderly, responsible manner. I don't know if you noticed this, but state governments are also pretty big, capable institutions.
Yes, they are. Oh my gosh.
That doesn't mean, hypothetically, in and of itself, doesn't necessarily mean the sky is going to fall, the system's going to be radically altered. It means that your experience with government immediately gets that much more customized.
Personalized, yes.
In a way, we force the new independent state, and territory and tribal governments to cooperate then. We create a new era of cooperation directly between communities as much as possible, rather than manage relationships through this centralized coercive authority.
Like it kind of was originally written, truly,
Well,
I mean, like the loose aspect of states having rights, and then it got kind of merged during the Civil War and everything. You know, like a lot of that kind of got muddled with the preserve the Union. And
if you're not a fan of secession, why do you hate America?
I know.
You're right. You know, like, and
exactly.
As a presidential platform, this is kind of a top-down solution, I'll admit. And from a voluntarist perspective, you know, I'm asking, give me the ring of power and I will throw it in the fire.
Exactly.
You know, we're going to
use the stones to destroy the stones.
The platform would be, I resign on day one. And we initiate a bankruptcy process where the political authority of the federal government immediately ceases to exist. And I become the bankruptcy agent of the federal government. And my fiduciary responsibilities to the shareholders. And fuck everybody who claims any kind of special privilege. The shareholders of the U.S. federal government were saying, for the purposes of this bankruptcy, are the American people. And we will return the property, the land, everything that's been stolen as much as possible, manage a peaceful transition of localizing essential functions of government. And whether you like how they're done or not, the government has taken on a lot of functions that people think of as essential. And a peaceful transition requires that there be an orderly process of taking those down to the state level, but it's not complicated.
It isn't. It would be really easy, truly. It would.
It would be a lot easier than keeping this goddamn destructive behemoth going, that's for sure.
Exactly. I know. It's ridiculous. And most people honestly would voluntarily pay into a lot of the services they receive if it was a voluntary option. You know, like if you needed trash collection services or, you know, whatever, like even police, a lot of people would pay, like if it was like a voluntary option to pay $20 a month to your local police force, and you could do that, you know, and it doesn't just get taken out of your taxes, you know, automatically, at least then you could have a little bit more of a grievance in a sense if they weren't doing their job more than you do now, you know, like.
You forgot to mention Marode.
Well,
and this is, you guys know what I'm talking about. This is the bottom up version of the solution of communities seceding, declaring their sovereignty one at a time. I think dissolving the federal government would be better if we get everybody on the same page.
It would be.
Get our shit back, or at least as individuals, a chance to take back and reclaim part of what's been stolen from us as government is localized. But if we have to go with the bottom-up solution, it's micronations, community seceding. So that's what we're doing here in Gardenia, which is short for the Garden of Freedom, where I am King Adam Charles Kokesh the First. And we built a road. You know who's going to build the roads? This guy. Wait, I forgot. What has two thumbs and will build the roads without government? This guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to pull this up. I actually had a couple of the pictures up here. I wanted to show everybody Gardenia on your Instagram. It's a very beautiful place.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I love it here. This is my paradise. That was a freak winter storm. We got a foot of snow on the ground, and that's like, you know, once every 5-10 years. It was cold and windy today, but most of the winters are pretty mild. It's referred to as a Mediterranean climate.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I've always wanted that. Yeah. Up here in Wisconsin, you know, obviously right now we're facing, you know, Arctic cold temperatures.
Oh my God. Wow, you live in, that's right. You live in Wisconsin.
All sorts of winter. Yeah, we've got feet of snow all the time. So.
By the way, that was Comet Neowise in one of those pictures.
Oh, that was going to bring that. That was a beautiful picture, honestly. It really was.
I have this thing, I think it's Camera MX or PX, like a special app on my phone that does long exposures and night photography. So cool. You know, the skies out there.
We always, honestly, our goal is to eventually get to an Earthship. Once our kids are growing up and we can kind of go off on our own, we want to, you know, develop an Earthship, find a property and just live off, you know, that's why we wanted to bring it up, because we want to live off the land and just be off grid. And, you know, right now, because you have small kids just really complicate that, especially when we're young and, you know, everything.
Relocate first, then have kids. In case anybody's watching who still has the opportunity.
Yes, exactly. We would advise the same thing, personally. We love our kids to death. We do. We would never trade them for the world. 3 of them, they're beautiful. But definitely if you have the chance, settle yourself into that lifestyle first and then decide to, you know, have children and everything. It'll be like our retirement plan. But honestly, it's only like, what, 10 years away at this point almost. Yeah. So it's not too bad. We'll be in our 40s. It won't be bad.
Well, I mean, we have this homestead here, my wife and I, 10 acres in the mountains of Arizona, an hour west of Flagstaff. It's very, very nice climate, very conveniently located. By the way, the first flying car, I think, that goes 100 miles an hour just debuted. So transportation, you know, living remotely, that and drone delivery, self-flying
awesome.
cars and drone delivery being universal across the planet, wherever you live, that's about to be a thing. And in terms of, like, you know, human hit, but like 5-10 years, those are tops. Those things are going to be commonplace, and living off grid and living dispersed, working remotely is going to be so much easier.
Yeah,
so
more common.
We have our, you know, this is our homestead. We're planning on having maybe, you know, until our kids are, you know, are grown. And then we have our retirement homestead. We're going to get a little island off of, you know, somewhere near Hawaii, just down.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And then build on a mountaintop. And then be able to take a little, instead of taking a crazy hike, we'll just take a little drone hop down to the beach.
Yeah.
And all that kind of thing. But no, there is already afoot a radical shift in lifestyle empowered by technology. And the way it's largely manifest is in RVs, people living on the road remotely, working remotely, just traveling, being able to go from campground to campground, or national park to national park, or even, you know, gas station to 12, truck stop to truck stop, right?
Mm-hmm. It's almost like nomadic living again, you know?
Right. Or just tiny homes and, you know, being able to buy a piece of land, or like when we came out here, you know, we were building earthships and all sorts of crazy stuff. But we lived in a 19-foot travel trailer at first. Now we got the plots and a few buildings. And I'm just trying to, you know, put off developing an actual comfortable space so that my wife is not tempted to have kids. You know, that's why we got the cabin, you know, before getting an earthship done. She wanted something, you know, complete faster, sooner rather than later. That's a little more organic process. So, that, like you saw in that first picture, it's a 40-foot by 16-foot prefab shed that we custom ordered with the placement of all the windows and colors and the doors. And we are building a carport on one side and a big covered deck on the other. And it's I'm really excited about this project for this climate. We don't have the thermal mass that I want, but even in the summers here with a couple fans inside and the two, you know, wings to it, it's going to be cool enough. And wood burning stove. We get to have the wood burning stove like that.
Yeah, that is
really
awesome.
Excited about. And actually, like, if you had an earthship in this climate, you'd barely use a wood burning stove. Like, it would be overkill almost.
Yeah, true.
Except for like a couple weeks out of the winter. Whereas, you know, a cabin like this, we'll be running the wood burning stove a lot, but we live in this beautiful juniper forest. There's tons of dead wood around. It's nice to have this just natural fuel source everywhere. You just walk around and, you know, I mean, we trim. We could just the trees on our property. If we just trimmed them, you know, that would be enough for our heating needs for the season every year. Probably. That's an exaggeration, but with everything in the area and all the
I get what you mean. I get what you mean. We actually spent a number of years living out in the woods here in Door County, and it was one of the most beautiful times of our life. Because of the size of the house and the situation, because we were renting, we couldn't stay there forever, unfortunately, and now we had to, you know, move into town because it was all that was available. But we yearn literally all the time to go back out to the woods. It was spiritually just one of the most, you know, connected times, isolated away from everybody. You know, we had some very cool fungal experiences out there that really and you know, you brought up earlier, you know, that connection with yourself, and you have to establish that too. That is actually what led us to this libertarian entire epiphany in our life, was these experiences out in the woods, isolated from everybody, just exploring ourselves, really getting down to like the connection with nature and oneness and all these things. And then it was like, now how do we implement this in the world? How do we be part of this? Like, we are part of the world, you know? So, and that's where it brought us to libertarianism. And then it's just kind of like blossomed from there, really. And it's been a really cool ride, honestly.
Hippie capitalists.
Yeah. You know, to each their own, right?
I think of that. You know, I mean, I have a black curtain and a white shirt because I'm boring, and that's my sense of journalistic professionalism. But I'm trying to grow my hair and beard out. I'm trying to grow my beard at least like as long as yours. And then I think I get a ponytail down to my butt if I really let it go. We'll see. But no, it is. I mean, a hippie capitalist. You know, someone who wants to live by. You know, I mean, what's a hippie? Obviously, we're very general.
Yeah, the terminology
easy to make fun of, but
right.
Granola, so crunchy.
Yeah.
We want to be
I'm like
crunchy.
half crunchy.
Dank. It's a dank lifestyle, man.
Yeah, right. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that more conscientious living, however it is. And one of the cool things to see is how in the libertarian movement, you know, to bring it back to how you started the conversation about community and connections, is that we see people propelled by this set of realizations about the nature of government and authority and society to live a different life, to understand the world differently. And it's like we're being shot out of an ideological cannon, and we all tumble in different directions and spin out in different ways. You know, we are sort of, that's not a really good analogy. It's not a cannon.
It's true. It's kind of true in a sense.
Well, it's more like the herd is going off a cliff. You know, we see the herd going off a cliff, and we're going, hey, let's go this way instead. And there's no this way that we all agree on. Ultimately, because this way, the one thing is, let's not go off the cliff together. Right. You know, let's be voluntarist. Let's have individual. Let's have consensual relationships dominate society. Let's not let this coercive monstrosity of an institution called government take us off the cliff. And as we're propelled away from the herd to a new direction, we are all pulled in little, you know, subtly, sometimes dramatically different ways.
That's true.
But when you join the Republicans or Democrats, your life only gets worse. When you join the Libertarians, at least there's potential that aside from being the guy who's right about everything and really annoying at family dinners, you get to actually improve your life and your conscientiousness and, you know, all of the things that we think of as self-actualization, like, you know, make decisions based on doing what you love and pursue your values. Don't be bullied or pressured into, you know, doing something that isn't in your own best interest or that you know is wrong. Like, we really empower the embodiment of that within the community of libertarians and encourage each other. And there is a beautiful, you know, set of connections there, like you were.
True. Absolutely. Yeah, even in the areas where we don't agree, you know, because that's kind of the core principle of libertarianism is we don't have to. And that's kind of where I don't understand where people get so lost in some of this. We don't all have to agree on the same thing. The core value is we all have to respect the fact we don't agree on the same thing. And we all can just live voluntarily amongst each other, not agreeing if we don't have to.
Just because we all want out of the matrix doesn't mean we all have to live in the same apartment now.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, and, you know, that's just the squabbles that I think a lot of people get into. But I think the longer you spend just in it and trying to focus on yourself is really where you can kind of release a lot of that, I guess. That's where we've come down to. And, you know, even with that situation earlier with the cookie situation, I killed it with kindness. I actually went on with that person who, you know, commented me about the cookies and whatnot. I posted and said, anybody who comes to the LPWI convention, I will now give a free cookie to. But this is in no way, shape, or form to buy my votes to become the chair. You know, just like, because it's like so stupid, you know, like, come on.
Well, you know, you said focus on yourself and that's part of it. But
Yes.
Again, it's about relationships and your relationship with the world. And then, like I said earlier, your relationship with yourself, and you go, wait, what the fuck? That's kind of a mind. Wait, how could
it's a bit of a paradox, but it does make sense.
But what that means is when you say, what is my relationship with myself? Am I coercive to myself? Am I bullying to myself? Am I limiting to myself? Am I disrespectful of my own capabilities and desires and sovereignty, and live in submission to some external pressure? Exactly. And what that does is that forces a separation of the ego,
yes,
the spirit, the consciousness, or the higher consciousness from the super ego, the sort of layers of consciousness. It reminds you of a deeper philosophical truth about consciousness, that you are not your brain, you are not your thoughts, and you are the observer. You're not a human having a spiritual experience. You're a spirit having a human experience.
Entirely.
All the bumper sticker cliches. There is some an inherent connection with that and what we describe politically as libertarianism, and what that means for how you live just a better life.
It's
and
true.
Like I said, you don't get this with the old parties or old party ideologies, where they're just fighting over different flavors of statism, as we might say, or different
and control
versions of the status quo, as you might think of, fully understand the libertarian perspective. And
it's an abusive relationship.
And we offer the way out. Whether humanity wants to take it this way or not might not be up to us. All we can do is just keep putting out the hand and showing the way and opening the door and being loving and open-armed and welcoming and available and encouraging and loving and confident in the righteousness of our ideas, the righteousness of our principles. And one of the things that I do, I'll start doing my plugs here.
Right ahead. Absolutely.
I'm live Monday through Friday with the podcast, 2 hours a day, 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific time, Adam versus the Man. And one of the things I enjoy about this is that with this format and the formula that we've got behind it now, is that I'm covering current events and doing what I feel is a journalistic responsibility, or fulfilling a responsibility to my audience of staying informed. Nothing's going to if you give me 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and we have a global audience, but it's Amerocentric.
Sure,
because it's my perspective, my look at the world. The protests in India, we were a little behind on that story, I'll admit. But we look at world events, and nothing's going to catch you by surprise if you're paying attention to my show. But I
definitely agree.
I don't have to do the 24-hour news cycle. No. Be afraid of this. Be afraid of this.
No.
Day to day, because I've got this longer format and I've got this more comprehensive formula. A lot of what I do is news blocks that are sometimes, like COVID. I try not to talk about the virus, which shall not be named, every day.
I know.
It's impossible to cover current events without it. But we do blocks, once or twice a week on that. We do good news on Friday. I do, I cover some stories and articles that are longer historical analysis. When I present stories, I try to put 3 or 4 together around a theme to paint a more comprehensive picture. I like to think of myself as a cheap knockoff of John Oliver, 6 times a day, 5 days a week, instead of, once a week for 20 minutes, because I'm on the air for 2 hours a day. But I try to bring that same, comprehensive analysis and synthesis together.
I think you're giving him too much credit. I like him too, but you're giving him too much credit, Adam. I've watched your show a lot. You're giving him too much credit. I would say you have a very extensive breakdown. I also really love that you get the community involved. You take callers. It's a lot more comprehensive than I think even the John Oliver experience could be. So I'll give you more credit there.
He does an extremely polished, scripted, comedic 20 minutes once a week. And for what he does, and I disagree, obviously, with some of his more liberal status.
Yeah.
But his format, his presentation is spot on.
Right.
He's at the height of his game.
Absolutely.
And for the stuff that we agree with, he makes a lot of good points, and he's very informative. Right? And I'd like to think that I need to cover more shit. I can't just do 20 minutes once a week. But if I can hustle and grab a bunch of headlines and do a lot of research and put them together, and I have a great team with the Producers Club, as you know, people sending me stories every day because you're in that group.
I am, I'm part of the Producers Club, Yeah.
So like, I mean, I read the Drudge Report every day. I'm on Twitter almost every day, although I'm not as cool with Twitter as I used to be. Being shadow banned for so long, and then feeling and beating gay, and still just feel like But you know, I get other people who send me news stories by email. But the main source of what I look at current events is this beautifully crowdsourced set of headlines every day that people send me in the Producers Club. And one of my side projects, I want to turn my main website, thefreedomline.com, into like a kind of libertarian answer to the Drudge Report. But for now,
that'd be awesome.
There's a public Adam versus the Man Telegram channel, t.me/Adam versus the Man. You can join. And I post all the links that we cover on the show every day there. And it's a pretty good little digest if people want to get that written.
How do people get into the Producers Club you mentioned before? You should plug that as well.
You want me to get that commercial with my plugs? You go to adamversustheman.com and you click on Patreon, and that'll take you to patreon.com/Adam versus the Man for $10 a month or more. You can buy your way into the Producers Club, but you can also win membership pretty easily. Every day we give away at least.
That's how I got in. Transparency. I had the best answer on a video. So.
We used to do trivia games, like we would play an audio clip and have people guess. A little awkward for the format, but we do like best comment on a theme or answer to a question or best callers, and it's a lot of fun. Let me also say, because congratulations on getting this new production going and making a commitment to a production schedule, because I understand the challenge in that. And to anybody who's watching or listening this far into the show, you got to know that what they're doing with this production is a kind of activism in and of itself. And by watching or listening or engaging in any way, you are a part of that, because you are making the conscientious choice to listen to this as opposed to something that is operated by someone with some ulterior motive other than entertaining and informing you. And that means if you want to step it up just a little bit, you want to support this production, share this episode. If you like Tony and Nadia and hate me, like, that's cool too. Share one of their other episodes. But help support, the budding productions. Put your money where your eyes and your ears are, because productions like ours require an active and engaged audience to be possible at all. And I say that every day on Adam versus the Man. I say that on every interview I do when I get the chance. And I can't say it enough. It is the ultimate tag I want to put on everything we make, is say that you are a part of this. Independent media, by definition, is a kind of activism, and choosing to engage with it, to watch it, to be a part of this audience is a form of activism. So thank you. It's not thank you for buying that soap or that other bullshit corporate product. Thank you for watching and thinking that this message is important enough for your time and your energy, because that's your love, that's your life force. And if you're going to be a part of it, don't half-ass it.
Exactly. We say that all the time. If you're going to do anything, you have to put yourself, like, if you're
dive right in.
Yeah, if you're not going to put your entire self into it, then why do it at all? Like, why not just do something else? And that's the kind of mentality we've carried. Thank you a lot for the shout out and everything for that, because we've really, during the 2016 campaign, that's when we started really kind of getting involved and stuff. And we went out to our local area, and we had printed up our own little sheets, and we hung out things about Gary Johnson, and we were doing the thing. And then this election cycle, we decided to start up Door County for Liberty. Shortly thereafter, the LPWI had reached out to us and like, hey, do you want to become a local affiliate? We don't have one in your county. And so we're like, sure, what does that entitle? And then we became a local affiliate. 2 weeks later, we spoke at a Joe Jorgensen rally, the two of us did. It was crazy, because it was like we just joined, and all of a sudden now we're speaking at this, presidential candidates rally. And then,
by the way, you got to warn people, if you're going to invite them to any Libertarian Party meetings, that there's a big danger that you might get up and go to the bathroom and come back and find that you've been made an officer.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen that firsthand time and time again. We got contacted a couple months later. I ended up being the city manager to run Joe Jorgensen's Madison event then, and then she came back, and then we've been building our relationship with the party and everything. And and I also started up the Libertarian Cannabis Collective. It's something I wanted. I personally have a strong passion for cannabis reform and legalization and decriminalization on a whole. And there was not a actual collective or coalition between the two worlds. So, yeah, exactly. Same here. I started that up. The Young Radicals for Liberty I just recently formed because there's that Young Americans for Liberty and all the baloney corruption that, found its way into that. And it's really just Republican light. And it was just bad from the start in a lot of ways. And so I figured there needed to be some form of counter, Young Radicals. I get a lot of criticism for throwing around the word radical, but really what I mean when I say the word radical is different from what we have. It's radical to think freedom now because what we're living under is control.
Why not make it just more directly affiliated with the Libertarian Party, and you'd call it the Libertarian Youth? That has a ring to it. Sure. Hitler Youth, Libertarian Youth.
Yeah. I'm pretty good at computer graphics. I can make that happen.
We were thinking for my campaign, I'm half Jewish and half German, so I'm genetically programmed to hate myself. But we thought it would be fun when I was running for office to have the Kokesh Youth and actually have brown T-shirts, with something on it that says awesome. The Kokesh Youth. There you go. Because if you look at me in profile, and you see the nose and the curls, it's pretty obvious I'm a member of the tribe. Sure.
Hey, I'm an Aryan, for Christ's sake. I have blonde hair, blue eyes. So, hey, we're halfway there, right? I mean, just for disclaimer, I'm full Nordic. There's maybe a sliver of German in there because of World War II. I don't know. but yeah. So I agree. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, honestly, overall, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that you're probably a busy guy and you got things to do. I really appreciated you coming on to the show tonight and talking with us. If you're open to it, I'd love to do this, more frequently throughout the coming months and years. And I'm very much somebody who I do, at the beginning of this conversation, I think it's important that we really start bridging the gaps because the Libertarian Party does not have the resource and power to bring us all together in the way that we individually do. Because I'm part of this new network, and I'll plug this actually because I honestly, Roger Sanchez, what he's doing with FreeSpeechMedia is really cool. He's trying to bring together as many content creators, gamers, podcasters, just anybody he can find that is liberty oriented and bringing them all to one platform. And he's trying to find a streaming platform that actually supports and promotes the free market. Right now we're on Trovo, and another platform they're really experimenting with that I don't know much about that I can plug in at a later time or put in the link below. But essentially these are streaming platforms that pay you to watch the content in cryptocurrency. And you can take that cryptocurrency and either use it, online wherever accepts crypto, or you can pay it back to the content creator. And the content creator can actually then use it and convert it to US dollars if they would like, or use it as cryptocurrency.
I hate to say that I'm lazy about this kind of thing, but I have an awesome producer.
Sure, yeah, I know. CJ's awesome. CJ's awesome. We'll plug CJ.
You can at least make sure that some distribution happens to make it worth my while. And I don't mean to demean any of this because the transition away from Google, YouTube, Facebook,
it's a beautiful thing. It needs to happen.
Is critical, and I want to lend my support as materially as much as I can. But there are so many things that are just so rapidly changing all the time. Even going from platform to platform. And as much as we want to bitch about YouTube, still got to say I'm grateful that the technology has afforded us the opportunity to post video and broadcast live. Yeah, this podcast will be posted there too. It will, and Facebook too. Without YouTube, what would we be doing? Mimeographing newsletters? Fuck that, right? This is still a level up.
Exactly.
And I'm grateful and appreciative. I'll take the opportunity to say I'm always looking for volunteers. I'm always looking for interns in person who want to live in sort of quasi-camp homestead out here in Gardenia. I'm looking for a prime minister for the Gardenia government, for the Gardenia Sovereignty Project. Lots of merchandising. We're going to sell passports and driver's licenses.
That's awesome.
Places. A lot of opportunities there.
Capitalism.
Oh yeah, but also competition between governments. Which
Absolutely.
Is the theme on the next podcast, by the way. It was a fun show. And tomorrow we have a secession panel. I'm looking forward to. Where was I going with all that? Oh, so with this production that I do 5 days a week, AdamVersusTheMan.com. If people want to get involved with the show, with the Producers Club, with the broadcast channel, we have an awesome core team of, me, the host, I'm the best. But we have Comments Yet Freedom, our co-host. We have our producer, CJ Abernathy in South Dakota, and Marcus Pulis, our guest booker in Indiana. But we want to build, and we're all volunteers. The money we make from YouTube only really pays the bills for all the, we pay for Liberated Syndicate. What else was a little, web hosting, email, things like that.
We understand. Yeah.
So the four of us, that core team, we're all essentially volunteers, but it's, a functional business opportunity with a lot of what we're doing where, if someone wants to plug in and start, like, hey, you want to manage merchandise on commission, you want to manage distribution and put my content on every channel that, Bitcoin or we can make any kind of crypto through, and you want to repost it. Hey, I want to take offers. I love being called. One of my favorite compliments I've ever received is that I'm an activist.
Absolutely. That's what I appreciate about you entirely.
To inspire, encourage, to mentor. I'd like to think of myself kind of like a big brother to a lot of other activists.
Absolutely.
And, I love, giving advice and giving people a leg up and helping and start their things. And I hate, my biggest regret is that I hire awesome people. I get awesome people for internships, and then they go on to not need me in their lives at all. I just want to succeed at such, and it's just like, God damn it. Now you're better. What the fuck? I mean, right. Promoting the company. No, but I love it, and I love that.
It's beautiful.
Like I said, I wish I was like, one of a couple dozen media personalities operating at the scale of, Joe Rogan and Cenk Uygur.
Right.
But the fact that I see my work having inspired so many others and flourishing in so many ways, it's very satisfying.
Excellent. That's honestly the same exact goal that we carry as well. Like, I don't ever even need credit for anything I ever do in this movement, one bit, to see the impact
I want the credit.
To see
Put my name on shit. I want on buildings.
Hey, I'm all about marketing. I'm all about marketing. Okay. I'm all about marketing.
Giant scissors and ribbon cutting ceremonies. I give me the credit. If you don't want it, I'll take it.
I'll give it to you. I just want the impact. I do. I love to see the fucking impact. I love to see, like, I put something in motion and then that's what happened because of it, and like something sparked, like you just said, to see your inspiration cause something greater happen because of it. That is one of the most fulfilling experiences you get out of activism entirely. Is like, we've experienced that so directly throughout this entire process. Like, I've had posts that I just threw up that got 40, 60,000, hits on it or stuff like that. Just random things I've created just in my spare time while I'm homeschooling the children, and that's kind of the power that just general people can have. And it spread a message that maybe triggered some people to think differently than they did otherwise, Seed planting, as we always call it.
Nourish the soil.
Exactly.
Watch it grow.
You can't force people to think a certain way, but you can maybe direct their attention for a moment to think that way. And then eventually it kind of works its way back out.
Well, you just help them understand a different perspective.
Exactly. And, I honestly, if you're open to having your show, broadcasted on all these different platforms and stuff, I really think you should talk to Roger, at least about having maybe one time a week being on, part of the Free Speech Media or something.
No. I want to recruit someone to do that for me, so I can just do my show.
To put it on there for you?
Yeah, and I just want to talk, and
that's what I'm saying. He would do it. But that's what I'm saying. He would do it. He does that for us.
Take my content.
That's what he does for us.
Copy left. put it out there. I don't care.
That's exactly what he does for us. Honestly, we pre-record this. I just send it to him. He uploads it. He does all the things. That's exactly what it is.
Give him my email. We'll see what coordination is necessary or possible.
Yeah, because I mean, it's really, like we're just trying to really build it up from here. But that's just for anybody watching. We broadcast Friday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time, trovo.live /FreeSpeechMedia. And you can also find us on our website, liberty.org. On Sundays is when we upload these podcasts, a couple days later, so that you get the initial broadcast through Trovo. But I am the content creator for all of Door County for Liberty and the Libertarian Party of Door County. I'm currently kind of a personal, I'm trying to create my own, computer graphics and cinematography and stuff like that. Building up, like I said, working with Jacob Vandenplas and I've created some ads for him and stuff like that. But really just trying to, like I said before, make an impact and actually make a difference in all of this, because I do see that that's what it's going to take. It is going to take everyday people making extraordinary actions, because otherwise, if we all just sit around doing nothing, nothing's really going to change. Those people over in Washington are just going to keep doing their thing. And then our local communities, you said earlier too, the state governments are so powerful. A lot of people don't realize county governments are almost just as powerful in many regards to your personal everyday life. I'm also running as board supervisor in 2022 for that exact reason, because I want to be the no on every single thing that comes through and be the thorn in the side of every single authoritarian in my local community here, because that's what it takes. It takes people standing up and saying, no, just no more. We're done with this, and so it's beautiful. I really appreciate you coming on and helping amplify that voice for us. I would really appreciate to keep contact. I will give Roger your email.
We look forward to seeing you at our convention.
Yes, because you are coming to our convention.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You have Bob Murphy on your, no, what is it? Oh, Bob Burke on your team.
Yes.
Oh, yes. That's right.
Who was incredibly organized as a volunteer with your state party and has been an incredible liaison, putting this together and getting me tickets and booked and everything.
Yeah, I know. He's great.
Months in advance. Impressive organization there. And the Wisconsin, I mean, there's some state parties that stand out. And Wisconsin, you definitely have a good community there. I think it's really the alcohol of the winners. And the cheese. And the cheese.
I agree. It forms bonds.
No, that's California's slogan. Shit.
No, we will refute that.
Happy cows are in Wisconsin.
Exactly. Yeah, we definitely look forward
Happy cows come from California.
No.
It's the cheese.
We are way more free here in Wisconsin.
Wisconsinites miserable.
Oh, man.
Especially the cows. I asked them last time I was there. Like it ain't more than you do.
It's great.
I look forward to seeing you guys in person in a couple of months.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That sounds good. Hopefully you have a good night, sir, and I will look forward to tuning into your future broadcasts. Say hello to all of your crew and everybody for us.
See ya.